Gonna work on the intake today. I'm not sure how I'm actually gonna do it just yet, but gonna play around with a few ideas and see where it goes. Excuse the mess, but the headlight normally goes here, and the best way to show what's going on is to remove it and see what's going on underneath. So most supercharger setups, I believe, has a snorkel that pulls cold air from beneath the fender well around this area. I currently have it removed, but just try to imagine it, I guess. Don't mind these wires either, they'll need to be tucked away. But the reason I had an issue with the existing setup is with the cone placed here for the intake. It comes in close proximity to the front wheel. I also don't run a fender liner because the front wheels are pretty wide, and when you do a full turn lock, maybe to the right, it does catch the cone filter, and that's the exact reason why mine kind of came off. It got dragged by this tire, and thus the need to relocate it. So I ultimately want to put the cone here somewhere. This is the driver's side headlight that was removed. What a lot of people do is actually poke a hole through the front all the way to the back, and so you have kind of like direct air going into the intake area. Then maybe run a tube to connect it, or I'd actually be happy with just a cone being able to fit here and cold air kind of feeding it in. So I think that's what I'm gonna try and do first, is kind of disassemble this and make a plan to drill a, I don't know, 3-inch or a 3.5-inch hole straight through this headlight. What it looks like so far, I'm just trying to remove maybe as much internal components in the headlight before I start drilling a hole to keep it clean and not make too much of a mess. Finally got that damn connector off. Okay, this is pretty much what I'm left with. Everything came off pretty easily. It was just mainly clips and snap-on type anchors. The way to get like the internal housing out is the adjustments for the headlights. You kind of just rotate them until they come off the sliders. There was this one piece here, I don't know what it is, but it was here, and this ball was kind of clipped onto here, so there was a lot of resistance when I pulled this piece off. And then there was just a bunch of little connectors to the back of the housing. But yeah, pretty much came off clean. What I think I'm gonna do is drill a hole here to snorkel in the air coming in from the front of the car to the intake. I'm not sure if I need the secondary hole, unless I make them both an intake path and then just have a cone out here. But I was trying to do like that ram air effect where the air comes into here and straight to a tube all the way to the supercharger snorkel. But we'll see, whichever is easier and better. What I think I'm going to end up doing is enlarging the hole where I want to put the air ramp intake into. I have this 3.5 inch coupler. It doesn't quite fit, so I want to enlarge it. I could take a Dremel or some cutting tool and just manually enlarge this, but I want it to be like super clean. So what I ended up doing was making this jig to kind of hold this down onto. Then I want to take this to the drill press and get a 3.5 inch diameter saw. Normally it's made for wood or whatnot, but I think it'll be strong enough to cut through this plastic. And so I'll have a clean 3.5 inch diameter hole here instead of like some manual hacked up looking cutout here. So that's why I took the time to make this jig. So the sawing of the hole diameter would be clean. Here's another view of the housing on the jig. Have 3 mounting stands and it keeps it rock solid. I'm going to come down on this side to enlarge that hole. This is what it looks like underneath. Working off the floor again, but I got everything underneath the drill press with a 3.5 inch diameter saw and a whole bunch of quick grips. So let's see how this is gonna go. Looks like a nice clean cut. I test fitted the headlight housing that I just drilled a 3.5 inch hole into, and it looks like it's gonna work. So the way I'm connecting the outlet or inlet of the headlight housing to the intake snorkel of the supercharger is this flexible intake hose. This was originally part of the kit that actually locates a filter behind the front fender well, but there's enough play here and flexibility to connect it to this inlet that I just drilled. So I think the next step I gotta do is drill a hole on the cover and maybe put some of the housing back to make it look nice. But I think we're heading in the right direction. Here's another angle of the headlight that I just drilled. I also put this little extension piece here. So on this side I could probably put a worm clamp to kind of hold the hose from the inside in, and then maybe stick some sort of filter here. Not sure how I'm gonna have it mate to the cover just yet, but that's what it looks like. Kind of hard to see, but I think I got a pretty good clean cut on this headlight cover. I'm gonna fit it onto the car and play around with how I want to do the intake, but looking good so far. For reference, this is how it looks like without the headlight cover. Here's the finished product. This hole is a little offset from the intake piping, but the intake piping is flexible. I wanted to see how it looks if it came all the way out here, but my hose was a little short. Looks pretty clean. I do have a longer flexible hose coming, so I'll try that next. So from the inside, just goes directly into the supercharger. I reuse the cap on this side of the headlight, so it's just super clean. That wraps it up for today. I think I'm almost done with the intake. I need to find a mesh or some sort of filter to prevent rocks or really big debris from going to the supercharger, but other than that, it looks good. Happy with it. So, till the next one.